Hi, I'm Jonathan Mills, the #1 real estate agent in Gainesville, Florida, and today I want to talk about a topic that's becoming more and more common on my listing appointments. Jonathan, should I rent or should I sell my home? Let's dive in. So let's look at two scenarios. In the main scenario, I want you to imagine you're a homeowner who paid $400,000 for your home. You put 5% down and you have a monthly payment of $3,000. You've owned it for 2 years and you're thinking about selling. You now owe somewhere around $370,000 for the home, but it's only worth $390,000. It's gone down $10,000 in value in those 2 years. Right now, that's a pretty common scenario. In this case, if you sell the home for $390,000 after commissions and closing costs, you'll net somewhere around $360,000, which is $10,000 less than the $370,000 that you owe on it. That means you'd have to bring $10,000 to closing and pay $10,000 to sell your home. That seems like a worst case scenario, but let's look at the alternative of renting. It's way more complicated than you think, so stay with me here. So let's look at 3 scenarios. You're either going to profit, break even, or lose money every month you rent your home. So let's imagine you have a $3,000 a month payment, and you can rent your home for $3,500, which is a profit. You could rent it for $3,000, which is break even, or you could rent it for $2,500 and lose $500 a month. You could just take those numbers at face value and assume you're going to make money, lose money, or break even. But there's a lot of complexities to that. The first thing you should consider is, am I going to hire a property manager? The vast majority of people say, I don't need one, but there's a lot of reasons you might. So let's look into those for a second and then compare. Not only does the property manager do a ton of work, they do the application screening of the tenants, they do the showings of the property, they find you a tenant, do background checks, credit applications, all that fun stuff, and actually place the tenant in the home and sign the lease. After that's over, the real work begins. They collect monthly checks, they go and do the bookkeeping and profit and loss statements for you and send you a dividend, a monthly rent payment, every single month after taking their fees. But here's the main thing that gets people. You work hard, and let's say you finally get your 2-week vacation. And the second day of your vacation, the air conditioner goes out on your Florida property for your tenants. You're now dealing with that if you don't hire a property manager. And dealing with that is a lot of work. You're going to be calling multiple HVAC companies, trying to find someone who can get there. You're going to be coordinating that time with the tenant. Half the time isn't going to line up, so you're going to go back and forth with HVAC companies and the tenant. You're going to want to get a couple of quotes. That means you're going to have to do that 3 different times. All the while, that tenant's living in a home with no air conditioning. So you're probably going to have to find a temporary solution for the air conditioning. So now you're going to have to call someone who can furnish a temporary air conditioner for that home, all while managing all of these calls. You finally find the great HVAC company, and now they have to do the work. You're the one coordinating them getting into the home. You're the one paying for the work. You're doing everything, all on your vacation. You should be spending time alone or with family. The property manager, had you hired one, would do all of that for you and just send you a bill at the end of the month. They might make 1 or 2 phone calls to get your permission, and that's it. There's a lot less risk with using a property manager, but it comes at a cost, somewhere around 12% of the average month's rent. So let's look at these scenarios. Let's assume you decide to hire a property manager because you moved out of state and you just can't handle all of that. That $3,500 a month rent is really $3,080 a month. The $3,000 a month rent is really $2,640. And the $2,500 a month rent, well, that's closer to $2,200 a month. So now, in these cases, you're losing somewhere between $800 or profiting $80 in the best case scenario. But there's more to this. You have to consider, is this an appreciating market or a depreciating market? Most often, we're in a depreciating market where sellers are considering renting. If it was going up in value, people are just selling because they know they can get top dollar right now. So if values are going down, renting the home means you're hedging a bet that at some point the market's going to turn. But if the market keeps going down, every month that home is rented, you're losing more money. And the likelihood that you're going to be able to sell that home with a tenant in it is exponentially lower because most people purchasing single-family homes want to move in it themselves, not be a landlord. So you have to consider that. The next thing you should consider is, are the tenants going to take as good of care of the property as you are? Tenants put a lot of wear and tear on the properties. They oftentimes have kids and animals, and so things like cabinets and appliances and paint tend to get a little banged up from tenants, which in return depreciates the value of your home. Just one of those items getting damaged could cost you a whole lot more than their security deposit and actually put you back in the red, even if you were making profit month over month on the rent. And finally, there's the tax exposure. In the state of Florida, we have a homestead exemption, which means if you're living in the property yourself and it's your primary residence, you're going to get a pretty sizable deduction in the amount of rent or the amount of tax that you pay on that property. The second you move out and you make it a rental property, your tax exposure goes way up, somewhere between $100 and $300 a month. So let's go back to the best case scenario. You decide to rent the home for $3,500 a month, $500 more than your monthly payment, but you hire a property manager and your taxes go up. You're losing money every time you rent that house, or every month you rent that house. Now, some might say, but Jonathan, I'm building equity. I'm paying $3,000 a month. Of that $3,000 a month payment, you're probably building equity to the tune of $350 to $450 a month, which isn't really much compared to the loss of several $100s a month. You might be profiting somewhere around $100 to $200 a month. And if the market turns even just 1% on that $400,000 home, you're still in the red. The short answer to all of this is, if you're considering renting or selling and you've bought in the last 2 to 3 years with interest rates above 6%, it's probably better off just selling the home and taking the loss. However, you should meet with a top real estate agent who will ask you all these questions and so many more, get to know your personal situation, and help you make the best decision. It is in my best interest to help you, and if the answer is rent, I'll be the first to tell you. My name's Jonathan Mills, and like I said, I'm the #1 real estate agent in Gainesville, Florida, and I'd love to help you with your real estate needs, including problems like this. Give us a call today.